Warning, the Renegade Recruiter is not for the soft, timid, or faint-hearted. If you need permission or seek approval from your mother, spouse, mates in the pub, or anyone else for that matter, this really isn't for you. If any of what you've heard puts you off in the slightest, I advise you not to listen any further. You've been warned. Prepare yourself for the no bullshit, zero fluff. Quick, dirty, and uncensored secrets for any serious recruitment, staffing, and search business owner who wants to earn more money with less work and fewer headaches, without having to kiss ass or bend over backwards to please anyone. He's a relentless and fearless renegade who will stop at nothing to reveal the harsh, unforgiving, and brutal truth about what it really takes to succeed in this business. He's a guy people love to hate and hate to love. It's your host, Terry Edwards. The Renegade Recruiter is unleashed.
Hello. This is Terry Edwards, Renegade Recruiter. And welcome to another episode of Renegade Recruiter. If you can hear somebody giggling in the background, that's true, because he seems to think I'm shouting, but I always talk like this. Okay. Welcome to this week's podcast, and of course, welcome to Drew. How are you, Drew?
I'm good, thanks, Terry. How are you?
Yeah, very good. I'm glad you stopped giggling.
I'm glad you stopped shouting.
So, I'm doing it. Get out of there. In this week's podcast, what we're going to look at is something that we get. I think it's fair to say, Drew, we get a lot of pushback on this one. And what we're going to be looking at is how to raise your fees in a competitive market. And what prompted this? We were running a live one-day training workshop the other day. And one of the things that we always talk about, if you want to increase your sales, increase your fees. And it's one of the quickest ways to increase your sales and to increase your profits, to increase your fees.
Yeah, so to increase your sales or to increase your profits?
Sorry. It's a combination of the two, really, isn't it? No. Increase your profits. My apologies. Yeah. So it's you'll increase your profits when you increase your fees. And everybody in the room acknowledged that was correct. But it's fair to say, Drew, we got a lot of resistance when we got round to encouraging, shall we say, them to increase their fees. Would that be a fair assessment, Drew?
Yeah, it is. I mean, and we've spoken about this before. Definitely. I'm not sure about if on the podcast, but definitely in some of the live webinars that you do. The subject of pricing is both of us one of our favourite subjects, because it's the area where you can get the quickest results. Because literally in a decision, making a decision to raise your prices, you can very quickly, as Terry said there, increase your profits, increase your business revenue, even if in doing so you make less sales. So you might actually in actual fact be working less but earning more for it, which is something that most recruitment and search managers would want. It's the easiest thing to do because all it takes is a decision. But it's the area where we get the biggest pushback, the biggest people give you sort of thousands of reasons not that they can't do it or they don't want to do it.
Yeah, and it reminds me of a story. For anybody that knows me knows that I'm a bit of a coffee snob. I'm very what's the word? I'm very selective about the coffee that I choose to drink. So it's the kind of coffee that you get in most hotels and McDonald's and I wouldn't dream of drinking it. In my humble but also right opinion, that's nothing more than dishwater, quite frankly. And one of the things that I do on a regular basis, I buy some freshly ground coffee from a local store. And incidentally, this store is the only one in my town. And 2 or 3 days ago, I actually went in to get my usual fix, as I call it. And there was a sign on the door saying that due to increasing coffee prices, he'd had to put his prices up by 10%. And I went to his name's Tony. I've known him for years. I've been going there for 5-6 years. And I said, "Hi, Tony, how are you?" And I said, "I actually read that coffee was going up by 20 to 30%. And he said, "Yeah, it is." And I said, "Well, if it's going up by 20 to 30%, why are you only increasing your prices by 10%? Is that going to affect your profit?" He said, "Yes, it is." I said, "Well, why would you do that?" He said, "I know, Terry, but I'm scared of doing it." I said, "But Tony, let's be clear about it. You're the only store in the town selling freshly ground coffee. Now, the supermarkets are selling it, but it's not freshly ground. There are other shops in my hometown that sell coffee, but not freshly ground. you've got no competition. To my knowledge, the nearest competition is about 20, 30 miles away. And he said, I know you're talking a lot of sense here, Terry, but I just can't. I'm just fearful of losing business. I said, Tony, I'm a buyer. I'm telling you to put your prices up. You're not going to lose my business. If, I've got no objection to you making a healthy profit, none whatsoever. He says, but you're different, Terry, and most people, they're going to be disappointed if the prices go up. I said, I get they'll be disappointed, but if coffee's gone up, it's out of your control. But why would you? I'm not sure why you do it. He then said, look, Terry, I know what you're saying. It makes a lot of sense, but I'm not going to do it. I'm kind of fearful. I think it's fair to say, Drew, that is typical of a lot of recruitment and search firm owners we speak to on a daily basis, isn't it?
Yeah, and business owners in general. I mean, there's a few things you can actually take from that story. One is, okay, so you got there. So when was this? A couple of days ago?
Yeah, 2 days ago.
You got there a couple of days ago. I mean, yeah, you read about the coffee shortage. He said he's going to put the prices up by 10%. It didn't stop you going in the store. You still went and you bought the coffee, right? There's no reason. So he thinks he needs a reason to increase his prices. He's telling you why he's doing it because his costs going up, so he's going to have to put the prices up. He could have increased the prices by 10%. You still would have walked in that store. He could have done that months ago.
Yeah.
So how often do you go there?
I probably go every 10 days or so.
Every 10 days. So again, let's say you go sort of 30 times a year. Let's say his average client goes about 30 times a year as well. Each one of those times, he could have been getting 10% more.
Yeah.
And he hadn't done it for so there's that you can take from it. Also the fear around it. I mean, people assume that people assume that everyone buys on price and price alone. You all think that that's the biggest deciding factor for any buying decision that we have. And in fact, and Terry will share in a minute, for most people it's not. I mean, we've probably all been in a situation. I mean, I've lost count of the times it's happened to me where you've been buying, you've gone somewhere to buy something. So maybe you're going to buy a new car or whatever it is. It doesn't have to be a big purchase, but you've gone to buy something, and you're talking to the salesman about the product or service, and then they said, usually it costs this much, but I can do you a discount. Without you having to ask for it, without you even suggesting that you weren't willing to pay the full price, without any sort of input from you, they've said they've freely offered on a plate that they're going to give you a discount. Terry, has that ever happened to you before?
Happens all the time. And I think there's a couple of things going on there. One of the things you just touched on there, Drew, the fear. I also happen to think, when people push back on price, I think it's something about their own self-worth. Because the question I'm asking when they're saying that is, what, you don't think you deserve more? Now, they tend to push back then and say, it's not what I don't deserve more, it's just that my market won't pay it. That's bullshit. There are 3 types of buyer. Now, I want to be clear here that there are 3 types of buyer, and it's also what we call context relevant. So it's all in context. So on a purely personal level, I buy, my wife looks to heaven like this, I will always buy the cheapest pair of socks, because I never wear out a pair of socks. I just lose them all the time. And it kind of begrudges me to spend too much on a pair of socks, because I always lose one. I don't know where it goes, but I always lose one. But when it comes to shoes, I will always buy expensive shoes. I've got a thing about shoes. I think that you get what you pay for in shoes. And the point I'm making now, that in any market, there are 3 types of buyers. There are what we call transactional buyers. They buy purely in price and price alone. They make about 20% of the market. Now, if you're a recruiter to a search firm owner and you're saying, we will do this for you for 10%, and I come along and say, well, I'll do it for 9.5%, I will get the business. Transactional buyers have no loyalty whatsoever. They buy on price alone. So even if you are the cheapest, you're going to lose that business to somebody that comes along to be the cheapest. If you're going to base your business based on price and price alone, you've got to be the cheapest. Because there's no point you saying, I'm going to be a mid-range or I'm going to be one of the cheapest. You're as well to be the cheapest. That's 20% of your market, though, for what's called transactional buyers. The next group are called relational buyers. This makes up about 60% of the market. Now, the price is important to them, but other factors come into it as well. One of the factors that comes into it is expertise and the relationship they have with the person they're buying from. That they make 60% of your buyers. But here's a critical thing that most recruitment and search firm owners aren't aware of and don't take advantage of. 20% of your buyers right now are premium buyers. They will pay a premium. Anybody that knows me and knows my darling wife Sandra will tell you that my wife is a premium buyer. We can go into a store and from 50 paces, she can say, if she ever says, we walk into a store and she goes, oh, that looks nice, I always think to myself, that's the most expensive thing in this shop, because she's just got an eye for premium stuff in a lot of cases. And we all know people like that. But coming back to your business, a percentage of your market will pay you for a premium service. And here's a sad bit about this, Drew. Most recruitment and search firm owners don't offer a premium service.
No, yeah. And you know what? What's inspired this episode today, what's inspired this podcast is, so during the live training that we were doing, we're talking about pricing, a recruitment and search firm owner based in the UK just turned around and said that the reason she couldn't raise her prices was because there was too much competition. So, again, it's a mistake that a lot of recruitment and search firm owners make. They think that everyone buys on price. So when people come into the market, what they tend to do is they come up with their prices. They sort of look at what the sort of top end of the market what prices they're offering, and look at the low end, and they often set themselves somewhere in the middle. When you do that, and this is what's happening to this woman, when you do that, you immediately create competition. And here's what I mean, right? So as Terry said, that there's a potential the market will always go for the most expensive item. There's also a proportion of the market that will always go for the cheapest as well. Although those people are arguably in the same market, they are not looking in the same places to buy whatever they want to buy. So, for example, if you're going to buy, let's say you're going to buy a handbag, for example. Terry, I know you like handbags. So if you're going to buy a Prada handbag...
You said you wouldn't share that, Drew. But,
Look, so if a customer's going to buy a Prada handbag, and let's say the Prada handbag cost £4,000, but you can get another handbag from your high street store for £40 or $40, whatever your local revenue is. They're both handbags, they're both in the same market. But the buyer who's looking at the premium handbag is not the same buyer that's going to look at the high street handbag. Right? They're not. It's not the same competition. When you raise your prices, you're going after different clientele. The fact is, when you're in the mid-range, you actually have more competition than you would if you're in the top end or the very, very low end. And the problem with the very, very low end, only one person can win. Only one person can be the cheapest. But when you go for premium buyers, there's lots of room and less competition.
Yeah, and that's a really good point. And it's worth repeating. When you go for premium buyers, there's less competition.
You're listening to the Renegade Recruiter Unleashed podcast. For show notes, additional resources, and podcast updates, head over to www.therenegaderecruiter.com.
Here's a question for you. What's the premium service that you can offer your clients? Because the moment you come up with a premium service, you've got less competition. The client says, but you're 20% more expensive than anybody else. Or the common one is, I can get this cheaper down the road. Your response is, I'm not down the road. Of course you can get it cheaper, but it's not as good as this. Now, if you want the best search firm, if you want the best candidates, we can continue this conversation. But it's important to explain to a client or remind them, I should say, you can't be good and cheap. And if you're offering the lowest fees, you're saying something about your service. You cannot have good and cheap. It's either one or the other.
And just to get in there, even if you are the best in the market, even if you can have good and cheap, let's say you can get good and cheap, people just simply won't believe it. The two don't go hand in hand. We, rightly or wrongly, we as a society, as humans, when you see something we associate higher price with higher quality.
Yeah,
we just do. And again, in live training, we gave the example: if you needed to get emergency surgery on your brain, or a relative needs to get emergency surgery on their brain, and you had to pay for it, and there's one surgeon saying that they can do it for £50. There's another surgeon saying they can do it for 5,000. Who? And you don't know anything else about them other than that. Who are you more likely to trust? And for most people, it's going to be the one that's more expensive, because we assume, because their prices are highest, because they've got confidence in what they do, they're the better surgeon. We just make that assumption, and again, with no evidence to support that's true, but that's the way we think. So your clients right now, there's a portion of your clients who are looking at your prices compared with your competitors and thinking that they're basing how good you are based on that. So if you're cheaper, or if you're one of the cheapest, they're going to think you're also one of the worst as well. And I'm not saying you won't get business doing that, but also the quality of business that you get will be a lot lower as well. Again, you don't need to look far to see. If you use the handbag example, the clientele, in terms of sort of the customer that you get that will go to Prada compared to go to the high street, it's going to be a better quality of customer in terms of what you want in your business. They're going to be ones that are willing to spend more, they're going to complain less, they're going to spend more often, and that's the sort of client that you should want in your business if you want it to be profitable.
Yeah, some really good points there. And I appreciate it for sharing that with you. Some of you may say, but my market's different. It's not. I want to emphasize this. People don't buy on price alone. You know, are you wearing right now the cheapest pair of shoes possible? Are you wearing the cheapest clothes? Are you living in the cheapest house? Because whatever you've got right now, there is cheaper out there. And if it was your birthday tomorrow and I said I was going to take you for a meal, but I'm going to take you to McDonald's because it's cheap, I kind of suspect you're going to be offended. You'll say, well, look, not being funny, Terry, but I'm not going to get dressed up to go to McDonald's. If you're going to take me for McDonald's for a meal, I'd say, quite frankly, Terry, don't bother. And that's understandable. And I say, yeah, but it's cheap. I can get 2 meals for, I don't know, £10, $8. And that's with a drink as well, by the way. So I want to save my money. And again, your response, understandably, would be, I'll give it a miss. Your clients think exactly the same way. And if you're talking to a client and one of the first things they ask you before they ask you about what you can do for them, they start talking about your terms of business or your fees, they're a price buyer. Explain to them that what you're offering has got more to do with the fees. And if they want the top candidates in this particular niche, it's not about fees. Ask them if this role isn't that important and they're gonna make their decision based purely on fees. Ask them if they're going to do that. If they said they are, I would encourage you to end the conversation because they're going to buy purely on price. Now, it's really important that you stand firm on this. I can't emphasize enough that you really stand firm on that because you will pay the price otherwise.
Yeah, and also just to add to that point and what we said so far as well, that premium buyers tend not to shop around. They tend to go. They tend to sort of stick to one person. Tend to go to who they think the expert is, who they think the sort of most experienced person is, or best quality person is. So, again, it's another way you eliminate competition because if someone's a price buyer, they're going to be speaking to you plus 5 other firms or more.
Yeah.
If someone's a premium buyer, they're not. They're coming to you because they believe that you to be the best. They're not looking at anyone else. They're not speaking to anybody else.
Yeah.
So again, you eliminate competition that way as well.
Yeah, really good point there. You will eliminate the competition. And as I kind of touched on it, but yeah, just go away and think about it. Are you worth more? And by the way, if you don't think you're worth more, fine. You know, keep your prices low. I'm not saying you're right or wrong, but you need to be aware of what you're saying about yourself. If there's any discomfort about getting a high fee, just say something about your self-worth. So if you want to be priced like the average recruitment and search firm owner, as Drew said, you're just giving yourself a lot more competition, a hell of a lot more competition.
Yeah, and Terry, before we done this podcast, I've done some research online. I was looking at, just really looking for more evidence to back up the story that people don't buy based on price. And I started looking at cars, and I was looking around at some of the cheapest cars, and there was one that caught my eye was a Hyundai i10. It was called, which is one of the world's cheapest cars. You can get it brand new for about $8,000 or £8,000, depending on where you are in the world. And then at the same time, so it's still a car. The world's most expensive car to date was a Ferrari that sold for $34 million.
Wow.
Again, so it's effectively the same product. It's a car. It gets you from A to B. Now, again, the people that are shopping around for a Hyundai are not the same group of people that are going to look at the Ferrari, right? There's less competition. There's less competition at the high end.
Yeah, that's quite some illustration there.
Plus, how many Hyundais i10 would you need to sell to get to $34 million?
Yeah, and Drew, that's another really great point there. Yeah. So let's say that your average salary is 100,000 of your local currency, and your fee, you say, well, my clients buy on price, so I've got to go in at, let's say, 15% and try and be cheaper than everybody else. But your competitor says, to hell with that, our fees are 30%. So you see what's happened there? They will do the same amount of work as you, but get twice as much for doing that work because they're charging twice as much. What would it mean to your business if you were simply to increase your fee, let's say from 17% on the salaries to 22? One of the things it would mean is you'd work less and earn more. Now, I know I've said this many, many times, but success is a choice. But it is your choice. And as Drew said at the beginning, it is about making that decision.
And again, one thing we always say when talking about this subject, in any market, someone's got to be the one who charges the premium fee. Someone has got to be the one who gets paid more but does less work. Someone's got to be the leader in the field. Someone's got to be the one who clients will seek after rather than have to go out and chase them. And why shouldn't that someone be you? And pricing is one of the things that help that happen. It positions you as the top. As we said before, we assume that the price, expensive price, goes hand in hand with good quality as well.
Yeah, really good point.
Sorry, Ted, let me just cut this call off.
Sure. So it's really is something for you to think about going forward. And
Hello?
I
Dad.
Sorry.
Do you not hear me say, let me just cut this call off?
I did. I was carrying on talking though, yeah.
Oh, we need to edit it out.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So, yeah, to go back to what you said before that.
Yeah, so I appreciate as we're saying this to you, it may seem somewhat challenging. What I would encourage you to do, at the very least, that everything that we share with you, at least test it, at least start talking to clients, increase your fees and to your new clients and asking for a higher fee. And by the way, clients very rarely offer to pay a higher fee. They very rarely volunteer to pay a high fee, but they often pay a high fee when you ask for it. But you've got to ask for it. Drew?
So, yeah, I just want to read this email out from a recruitment business owner called Michaela, who's based in the UK. She's a member of the Recruitment Marketing Academy. She sent this in last week, and it says, "Hi Terry, I just wanted to let you know that the advice and tips we have picked up from you over the last year have really paid off. I was listening to your webinar on Tuesday this week, and when you were talking about being a recruitment whore, it made me smile because that was exactly what we had been last year. We were so insecure that we took anything and everything and pretty much said, treat us as badly as you like, just give us the business. Thankfully, after hearing all your tips, I started to realise that actually we do a really great job, so why are we accepting this? As a result, I changed our strategy completely and told the team not to accept jobs below a certain salary and set a minimum fee, as well as insisting on them asking new clients for a retainer and failing that, sticking to our fee. The team were nervous about this and reluctant at first, as they wanted a full job sheet and were worried we would lose business. Initially, we did have less jobs, but they were jobs but the jobs we had were at the right fee, the right salary, and with people we wanted to work with, so we could focus on roles where we would be paid and not waste our time working for free anymore. They are now all converts, and the result has been amazing. The first quarter of this year has been the busiest we have ever been, and our revenue is up by 60% on this time last year. I'm certain it's due to the change in our strategy, so thank you very much for giving me the product I needed." And again, a lot of that is down to pricing.
And I won't share her numbers, but very much her numbers. And we get emails and phone calls like that on a regular basis, and we often share with you how recruitment and search promoters have increased their sales and increase their profits. One of the main ways is that they've just looked at the fees. It really is as simple as that. I say simple, it's not. I'll be honest, it's not as simple as that. You've got to make that decision and then do it. And I appreciate. I want to be clear. It's not easy initially, but once you do it, it's quite liberating as well, isn't it, Drew?
Yes.
Excellent. And as Drew said, you reduce your competition. Now we're going to cover a lot more of this go into a lot more detail of this in the market domination. And for tickets and for more information, go to terryedwards.com/M for mother, D for Delta, X for X-ray. So terryedwards.com/MDX.
That's Market Domination X. It's a 2-day live event in London in June. If you haven't already claimed your spot, head over to there now and claim your spot, and we'll see you there. And we're going to go into a lot more detail about pricing and how you find buyers that are willing to pay your premium fee and how you do it as well. So go to terryedwards.com/MDX and come join us at Market Domination X in June.
Yeah. Hope you enjoyed this podcast. Remember, please leave a review if you've enjoyed the show. Please, and we really appreciate it. And share it with your colleagues and anyone else that you believe it would be of interest to. This is a free show, and the only way we're going to keep this going is if it gets out to as many people as possible. So if you want us to continue providing you with free, proven marketing tips and strategies to help you grow your business, generate more leads and increase your personal earnings, then please share this with any other recruitment search firm owner. Please leave your reviews, any feedback at all. Drew, thank you again very much for joining us.
It's okay.
And again, I apologise for shouting at you. Seriously, this is Terry Edwards, Renegade Recruiter. Until next time, take care, take action, and be relentless.